Hey, welcome back! In this video, I'm going to show you how to draw a raven skull. Let's go! Here are the supplies I used. You can screenshot this or check the description below. You may have noticed I printed out my reference for this drawing and I kept it nearby. Step 1. General shape. I start with the general shape, a circle and a cone. This is what helps me establish my composition and make sure that my drawing is centered on the page. Step 2. Outline. Now, with heavier strokes, I'm defining the outline starting with the eye sockets. When I draw my outline, I always look for reference points. For example, when drawing the structure below the eye socket, I look at where it starts up against the eye socket and where it ends. I constantly look for reference points during the outline step of a drawing. I'm adding a few more details that'll help me with the shading process. I'm adding in lines on the dark points of the drawing, but not on the light points. Pencil can still show up even through colored pencil, and so I like to leave graphite and pencil away from the brightest points of a drawing. As you can see, I'm erasing and fine-tuning the placement. Sometimes it's easier for me to see what looks off once I put it on paper. There's nothing wrong with making adjustments. We're now ready to add color. Step 3. Highlights. With the Kneaded Eraser, I'm blotting the paper to remove some of the intensity of my lines. I start by lightly marking the highlights within the drawing. I use soft pressure so that I can still blend later in the process. Step 4. Darkest points. I'm now jumping to the darkest point of the drawing. Instead of starting with black, I like to build up my colors. I'm laying base tones that go underneath the darker shades. I'm using light to medium pressure. I'm now going in with black and still using medium pressure. This section is now ready to be blended, so I tested it out with the darker yellow, but it seemed too bright, so I switched over to the brown shade. I'm using firm pressure at this point. That pressure then blends the brown and the colors underneath. I add back in some black as it gets washed away in the blending process. I'm again laying those base tones with medium pressure before I go in with the brown to blend with firm pressure. Step 5. Midtones. I'm establishing what are the darker points on the top of the skull with the brown. These are from the lines I left myself within the outline. I'm using medium pressure this whole time. I'm carving out this one other dark point so that I don't miss it later. I'm establishing what will be the darkest points of the midtones. I'm using light pressure at this point. I'll now go in with firm pressure to establish those darker areas. I'm using two of my lighter colors with light pressure to add more tone and depth to the base layer. I use light pressure until I'm ready to blend. I'm using this lighter color for my blending, and that is when I go in with firm pressure. Sometimes using a lighter color to blend can flatten out an image and flatten your contrast, so I like to go back in with darker colors afterwards. I'm continuing to apply the same methods, light to medium pressure with my base layer, and then firm pressure with my blending color. After I blend, I go back in with white and black to sharpen up the edges and to add more depth. The nice thing about these pencils is that you can still go back in after you've applied firm pressure. I noticed that the beak was a little bit lighter, and so I started to add in more white on top of the firm pressure from the lighter tones. And thankfully, these pencils let me continue to blend and build on top. And there we have it. Now we have a raven skull. Thanks for checking this out. I hope this helped. You can check out other videos and tutorials on my page. Don't forget to like and subscribe.